Well, boys, you finally ready to get this car back on the road? I know I definitely am. We only have a few little things to do on the car before we can actually go drive it. I do need to make a parts run real quick, but I gotta figure out what exactly we need. If you don't know the car, this is my Evo 10, had a fully built motor in it. We hit the dyno and ended up burning an exhaust valve on cylinder number 2. So now we put a stock motor back in the car with a 6870, which is a much bigger turbo than what we had on here. And we're gonna max out the stock motor and hopefully it lasts a little bit of time, but I'm really just curious how much power the stock motor is gonna make. So that's what we're up to right now. But the part that we need is a different coupler. Obviously this one does not work. I just put it on here last night for a temporary solution so we can actually get it fired up and make sure our used OEM motor runs, and it does. So I basically need to grab a coupler like this, but this is a 2.5 to 2.5, and I need a 3 to 2.5 for the new turbo. So that looks like a 45 degree. I'm just gonna grab a 45, 3 to 2.5, and we should be good to go. I think that's the only part that we actually need to get this thing back on the road. Before we go ahead and get this coupler on and get it trimmed down and whatnot, we need to finish up the rest of the bay. So we have a few harnesses to connect. This whole front core support needs to be redone and gone through. And we got the catch can to install, a couple other little goodies like that. So we got everything complete. We got the intercooler pipe on. Ideally, that should be a 60 degree angle, but I cannot find one local. So it was either a 45 or 90. I don't think we could have got a 90 to work. 45 does work, but the problem is we ain't got a hood to close. So I guess for the time being, we're gonna run it with no hood. While the car is done, fires right up, seems to run very, very nice. It does read very lean on the wideband gauge, so I'm gonna do a boost leak test before we go drive it. But before I do anything else, there is a few important mods that we need to do before we hit the dyno and try to go for a wild number on the stock motor. It's got a pretty nice fuel system in it, but I don't think it's gonna be big enough to go where we're trying to go. So with that being said, let's open up a new box. We got this nice little package in from our friends at Radium, and this is gonna allow us to go to the moon, or at least help with it. So we are sticking with the ID 2000s on the car, and we're going to a dual Walbro 450 setup utilizing the hanger from Radium. And then we are running all new lines as well. So I believe it's a -8 feed, -6 return. We have a new regulator. We have this whole fuel line feed kit from Radium, which I'm very excited to install. I think right now, like I said before, it's been a while since we did the fuel system last on this car, but it does have the ID 2000s stock lines, and I want to say 2 340 LPH pumps, which I know that's not going to be enough for where we're going. First thing I want to get situated is the Radium hanger with the dual Walbro 450s. Also shout out to Radium for sending over the very dope t-shirt and the stickers. Appreciate it, boys. All right, let me show you guys a couple things along the way. We got the first pump ready to go in, and let me show you how to get this guy on. So the first piece we're gonna install is this piece here, and the flat part faces up. Now we take this little bag, there's the half moons, and the half moons are gonna sit in between these two barbs right here, and then you'll pull this guy up and it will lodge those two half moons in between so this guy cannot come off. And then you take the O-ring, put the O-ring on the top of it, take this piece, that'll go on top, and you will bolt them together using the 3 small Allen heads that are included. All right, so we have both pumps assembled, ready to go into the hanger. So we do need to pull off this bracket right here. They send it set up to just use one pump, so that's why there's no wiring pigtail on this side, and that's plugged off. So we're gonna go ahead and remove that plug right there. And then take the spare wiring pigtail that they send out and go ahead, bolt it on these 2 prongs right here. All right, pumps are ready to be installed. All right, pumps are all the way in. Now we're just gonna grab these little worm clamps that they supplied and clamp the pumps down to the hanger so they don't flop around on us. So we got the hanger all back together with the pumps installed. To get it complete and ready to drop in the car, we actually have to pull the factory hanger out of the car, steal a couple of parts off of it, and install them on here. And then we can move on to wiring. And as soon as wiring is done, then it's the fun part, all of the plumbing. So I just popped off the fuel level sender off of the hanger that was in the car. I was right, those are 2 340 LPH pumps that we had in there. So I'm glad we're going to the 450s. So this guy is the fuel level sender, and that little guy is the fuel temp sensor. So this is gonna mount on the side of the new Radium hanger, like so. We now have a fully assembled radium hanger with dual 450s. Here's how the wiring should look for the fuel temp sensor and the level sender. This guy is ready to go in the car. Hanger is in, looks absolutely beautiful, fits better than an OEM one does. Now we have wiring and plumbing. Wiring is pretty easy, plumbing, not so much. We got to run new line all the way from the hanger, all the way up here to the fuel rail. So let's go ahead and clean up our table and see what we got to do as far as the feed. So this actually is a lot more simple than I thought. We have the fuel filter all assembled with the bracket and all that good stuff. And then we have a line that's gonna run from the filter up to the rail. And then another line, a longer line that's gonna run from the filter back to the fuel pump hanger. And then for the return line, if I'm not mistaken, all we're gonna do is convert the factory feed line to the new return line, because the factory feed line on the car is the -6. So let's go ahead and get the car up in the air. First things first, we're gonna get this guy mounted and then we can run these two longer lines. We do have to swap out some fittings on the hanger, but it should be easy. Radium makes this so easy to do. It's very well thought out and the instructions on their website are top notch. So the fuel filter is installed. There's where she sits. This little brace right here, if your car still has it, you're gonna need to cut it, bend it like I did, or just take it off and leave it off. I chose to bend it. So I installed the fuel filter with the feed line that goes from the filter to the rail, because as you can see, there's not much space up in there. So get that line on first, feed it up through there, make sure it's tight before you put it on. And while the car's still up in the air, let's go ahead and run the feed line that goes from here. And it's gonna run down over here, underneath this guy here, and up to the top of the fuel tank. All right, now that the car's back on the ground, we can see the other side of that feed line from the filter. And this guy is just gonna connect right to the rail, right there, the inlet of the rail. So the same thing that we just did up front, we gotta swap the 6AN to an 8AN. We are gonna have to do the same thing on the fuel hanger. Where it says pump out right here, we gotta pull that fitting off. This will go on, and then our feed line will attach right there. while I was in the back of the car, went ahead and finished everything up as far as plumbing goes. So feed is done. We had to swap the return fitting with an included fitting, and now this right here is our factory feed line, and that's just going to clip right on to the return because our factory feed is now the return line. So that's all done back there. And now we just connect the bottom of our regulator right here to the factory feed line, and we are all done plumbing. They did include a regulator, but we already have a regulator on the car. What's this guy? Here's a fuel pressure dampener. We already have the damper and the regulator on the car, so no need to swap those out. All right, here's the new return line I just built. This side right here is gonna connect to the bottom of the regulator, and then this quick disconnect is gonna run back right to the factory hard line. Last thing to finish up before we go ahead and drive it is all the wiring. So it's gonna be pretty easy, fairly simple setup on this car. One of the pumps is controlled by a hob switch, which is just a pressure switch that is teed in to the turbo. So as soon as it hits like 10 pounds of boost, that will activate the second pump, causing it to turn on and make all the sauce. All right, let's go ahead and confirm that the hob switch is active and working. So everything's connected up here. Here's the vacuum or the boost source. So I'm gonna disconnect it from the car. Then I'm gonna blow some compressed air into there, and that should kick on the second pump. The secondary pump works perfect. Let's go ahead and make sure the first pump actually works. And how you do that is you just start the car. All right, the car started up and runs well. We don't have any fuel leaks, so fuel system is good to go. If you guys want to pick up this exact radium kit we just installed on the car, I will go ahead and link it down in the description box below. Last thing I want to do is a quick smoke test. Same concept as a boost leak test, but you can visually see where the smoke's coming out if you do have a leak. So let's go ahead and jam some smoke in here and see if we got anything. All right, so air goes in to the regulator. Then it goes into this canister, which is full of the oil, which turns to smoke. And it's powered by this guy. You just connect to a power source. So let's let that run for a minute and we shall see. You can see on our smoke test, we have something going on back there with one of the wastegate lines. So let me dig into that and see what's up. Strange but easy fix. Crush washer is this big. The bolt or the banjo bolt is that big. As you can see, that ain't gonna seal very good. Easy fix. Hopefully that's the only leak. Let's head on out. Dyno day is scheduled for tomorrow, so we gotta make sure this thing's ready to go. It runs good, it starts right up. No check engine lights, no nothing. Beauty. Took the hood off because of course it did not fit. Put the headlights on so we're a little bit more legal now. Hopefully we don't get pulled over. Car technically should run fine. Same size injector. We do have more fuel pump, but that doesn't really change much. As long as fuel pressure is the same, which it could be off a little bit, but it seems like it's running all right, so we should be fine. It doesn't feel like my car anymore. No cam loop from the GSEs and no The first and only drive before the dyno was a great success. Not a single issue to report with the car. It runs and drives like it did before. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys think this thing is gonna make for some power. I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know who's ever taken a stock motor to the moon before. So if it blows that 500 wheel, I would understand. But if it makes like 900 wheel, I would also understand. So I guess we'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. The next video you guys should see on the channel should be this thing on the dyno. So I'll see you guys then.